Hello everyone, Rohit here from DeeperBits. So quick recap. In our previous lecture, we have seen like whenever we run a git init command, a repo got initialized, right? And in that initialized repo, actually a .git directory got created. And this directory is a very magical directory because this directory actually gives Git to perform all its core capabilities, right? So have you ever wondered, like whenever we run a command git add file name, what really happens behind the scenes? Like on surface level, we know like whenever we run a command, the file transition basically from the untracked area to the staging area. But what really happens behind the scenes? So let's understand it. So let's say we have a file new.txt, right? And we run a command basically git add new.txt. So the first thing that really happens behind the scenes is actually a blob got created inside .git/objects directory. And how this blob got created, right? So if you recap my previous lectures in VCS Intuition, I have already described it, but let me walk you through now as well. So whenever basically we run this git add command, what really happens is this file behind the scene get hashed and a hash got generated. And after that, with that specific hash name, inside .git/objects directory, this file got created, right? And how this really happens? So whenever we run this git add command, the first backend command or the plumbing command which actually do all these things is the command is basically called as git hash object. So this is the first command that really runs behind the scenes, and it actually do all this stuff. I mean, basically it creates blob inside .git/objects directory, right? Now there is one more thing that happens, and the second thing that really happens is actually there is an index file that is basically present at path .git/index, and this index file got updated, right? Now there is one question that is coming in my mind, and the question is basically like, what is this index file and why we are updating this index file? Okay, so let's go through it, right? So think this index file as a buffer between basically the untracked area and the commit area. So what I meant with this is, so basically you remember, right? So basically whenever we add some files and whenever we run command like git add the file name, the file got added in the staging area, right? And this staging area is actually a temporary area, and then we run a command git commit to create a version, right? And in this staging area we can remove some files as well, right? I just wanted to tell all of my viewers is, don't worry about the command like how to remove files from the staging area. Just leave it for now. In our upcoming lectures, we are basically going to understand this as well. So what really happens is this staging area is basically a temporary area. So we basically need a temporary file as well, right? And this index file is actually a temporary file or a buffer file which actually store all the hashes of files which are currently present in the staging area. Now what will happen is whenever you run command git commit, what really happens is this index file is actually used where all the hashes are present. So this index file is actually used to create a tree data structure, and when that tree got created, then basically we create a single hash with the help of that tree, and then we get a single hash of a specific version, or you can say a single commit ID of the specific version. Now don't worry about it, like regarding git commit command, how it is happening and how it is creating the tree and that specific single hash, we will study in detail in upcoming lectures. But I just wanted to give you a info about the index directory, I mean index file. Now I just wanted to introduce to all of you with one more concept, and basically this in this concept I just wanted to tell you like whenever the blob got created, how it is actually stored. So basically whenever a specific blob is created in Git, it is designed in such a way that like inside .git slash objects, the whole hash file is not actually used. Actually, the first two characters of this hash file is used as a directory, and then the remaining characters of that hash file is used remaining character of that hash is basically used to create the file, right? So don't get confused. I mean, this is how the Git stores it. So whenever basically a file got hashed and a hash is generated, the first two characters of that hash is actually used to create directory, and the remaining characters are actually used to create that hash file, right? As you can see in my screen. So now, to all my viewers, I actually wanted to give you a demo so that we'll able to understand this in very much detail, and we'll able to feel it like whatever we discussed, it is actually happening. So in our demo, the first thing that we are going to create is a directory. So we have run mkdir sample project, and then we are running cd sample project. Let's go inside the directory, and then we are running ls-a command, and we can see basically this directory is not initialized, it is actually empty. So the first command we are going to run is git init, and now this directory got initialized, or this repo got initialized, and whenever we are running ls-a command, we are seeing basically a hidden directory, that is .git is created inside this sample project repo. Now we are going inside this hidden directory, and we are running a command called as tree. If you are not aware about it, don't worry, it is actually used to see the file structure. So you can see there are many files and many directories, right? You can see there is a directory of object also inside this .git, which has two more, I think, directory, that is info and pack. Now basically what we are going to do is we ran cd dot and we are now in the sample project directory. We created a new file, touch new.txt, and then we are doing echo welcome to git inside this new.txt, and then basically we will run command git add new.txt. So now let's go inside .git directory, and now when we run basically tree dot command, inside the object folder we can basically see this object where 26 is the directory, and 0e37 starting with 0e37 and ending with c7e is actually the hashed file name. Now there is a one more command I wanted to introduce you. So if you really want to see the content of this hashed file, you have to just run a command git cat file -p, and now the whole hash file will be 26, and then we have to append this as well, right? So now we can see welcome to git. Now let's see inside this index file, and we can see basically some gibberish characters, and this, why this is happening is because this is basically a binary file, you just can't read it. Now what we are going to do is, now we are going to create another file. I mean, we are going to add another file, but this time we will only use the backend command. We are not going to use the front end command. So we have created a new file next.txt, and we are doing a echo in this new file, adding next file with using backend / plumbing commands. And we are adding this to our next.txt. And next, the first plumbing command we have to run is, if you can remember, that is basically git hash object, and then we have a flag -w, which is basically a write flag. So git hash object write flag and write this file. So what this will do is, this will actually create a blob inside the git.git/objects directory. You can see the whole hash file name, right? That is basically starting with AE and ending with 816B. So the first two characters of AE is actually used as a directory, and the other characters from AF to 6B will be used as a file name. Yeah, so you can see it here, right? AE is used as a directory, and the other characters actually used as a file name. Now if we run git cat file, if we want to see what is present inside this blob, so ae and then whole hashed file name, then we can see basically, yeah, this is the same file, next file, right? And you can see the content that is present. Now the last command that we have to run is basically we have to update the index. So now we are doing a git update index hyphen hyphen add. Okay, I think it is giving a problem here. I think we have to run it from the sample project. So let's go behind and then let's run this command again. So git update index hyphen hyphen add next.txt. So now our index also got updated. So this is basically the end of our demo. So now we have actually seen the demo, and we have actually seen it like whenever we run git add command, what two commands that actually run behind the scenes. The first command that run behind the scene is basically git hash object, and the second command that run behind the scene is basically git update index. Now I want you to introduce you to one more concept, and the concept is basically like, let's say we have added some files in our staging area. So what is the command if you want to remove some files, I mean roll back from the staging area to untracked area? So basically there are two commands. So the first command is basically if I mean there is a condition that apply for the first command. So let's say if you haven't created any version, I mean if you don't have any version in a specific directory, the command that you have to run is basically git remove hyphen hyphen cached file name. So this will remove the file from staging area, and the file got removed from staging area and come back to the untracked area. Now there will be a second command, and the second command is basically git restore hyphen hyphen staged file name. So this command works always. So whenever you have some version in git, this command works always. But let's say if we are creating a new repo and you initialize the new repo and there is no version yet, then at that time this git restore command won't work. You have to use the command git remove, I mean git rm hyphen hyphen cached file name. So basically let's see the demo, and let's see basically how we can roll back a file from staging area to basically our untracked area. So let's go inside this sample project directory, right? And when we run basically git status command, we can basically see a file which is in untracked area. So now we can use git add new.txt and the file get moved basically to the staging area, right? Now how we can roll back? So the command for rollback is basically git remove hyphen hyphen cached new.txt, and basically this will bring back your file to the untracked area again. Now you all guys will think like, what happens behind the scenes when we remove a file from the staging area to untracked area? So basically what really happens is the index actually got updated. Like whenever we are adding the file, the index got updated, right, with that specific hash file name, I mean with that specific hash, right, of that file. So whenever you remove basically a file from staging area to untracked area, the hash of that specific file got removed from the index. And basically there is no plumbing command to show you. There is actually git function. If you study git and if you see its code base, there are basically some functions which actually help to remove that specific hash from that index binary file. So with plumbing command I can't show you, but just think it like that, like behind the scene what is really happening is the hash of that file is getting removed from that index file. And I can't show you that index file as well, because that index file is actually a binary file, so we can't read it, right? So that's all for today. And if you guys are really liking my lectures, you can basically subscribe my channel, and you can follow me on Insta and Twitter for more updates. Thanks a lot. Thanks again.